All right,
all that's happened
we're back.
over the past week. I know it's not all my fault. I know it's not all your fault either. But my heart quite literally hurts without you around to hold. You know this isn't forever though. We will get through this.
So I've been pondering the same issue as before, and my conclusion is really that I think that my idea could work, but I think it can only work in like a very macro sense. The second you need to use your data to render, I don't think it works anymore. And what that means is that we need to use special tricks and shit to simulate the planet. And because of that, I'm going to just go with the wrapping array. Because I honestly want to just be able to work on something here. And while I would love to figure out how to do something a little bit more advanced to like map a planet, that's honestly like people don't really do it. It's not really something people do. You can't Google it. There are no real good ways to do it. It's borderline untread territory. I mean, simulating a planet, uber tread territory. Like everyone's done that. But finding a good alternative solution isn't really something that is really very easy to find anyone talk about like at all. There are tons of tricks though, but I don't really like. It really depends on exactly what you want out of it. But I don't think I really want to bother with it right now. So I think we'll just use a square. It's just that it is a bit of a bother. But the reality is that every edge case that I have is like, I don't like the edge cases, but they also don't really matter. Because if you make a world and you make it square, the number one thing are the poles, right? So how do you handle that? Because the reality is, if you want to wrap the world, if you want to wrap it around left and right, that's a lot easier. But if you want to wrap it north and south, then you basically need to have like the North Pole be like here. This is the North Pole, and then here you have the South Pole. You know? Like, am I wrong? I feel like you would have to do this. Because if you want to be able to walk like around the world in this direction, you need to have the world down here too. So you need to fit the whole world on a square. And that means you need to have you can't do what they usually do on maps where you have the pole like this and then the other pole here, because then that's the same pole and then you only have one side of the world. So but if you do this, then if you walk over here, then you're wrapping over here, while in reality, you should be wrapping over here. Right? So... how do we handle poles? Do I just do this? I hate this solution. Do I just make that the end of the world? I feel like there's no good solution, really.
You can call out my name and tell me about your pain, but I'm not coming back to you, baby. I'll be giving it up, but it's not gonna come back to you. Yeah, I'll be giving it up, but it's not gonna come back to you. Baby, call out my name and tell me all of your shame, but I'm not coming back to you, baby. I'll be giving it up, but it's not gonna come back to you. Yes, I'll be giving it up, but it's not gonna come back to you.
This is actually doable, though. Like, you could say that this, if you exit here, then it wraps down here. That is something you could absolutely do. And going up, it wraps down. I don't know if that makes more sense. Or if I am just stupid. Actually, I wonder if it should be like this. You exit there, then you enter here. Because otherwise, I think it's gonna be like upside down. Right. Because if you exit here, then the South Pole is on your left. That means that you have to enter here so that the South Pole remains on your left. And that would be retarded, like when you're walking here. If I did it like that, like you exit here, and then you'd enter here. How would that even work? That would be like mirror dimension. Fine. Well, I'll probably just do this. You know, the classic. I do really hate it. What if it was... I don't know if this makes any sense, but what if it was like this? And then you cut it like this. And then you like flipped it. Does this make more sense as 2 arrays or just doing this like next to each other? But what's weird about this is like, I mean, it's always gonna be weird. There's no way to solve this without it being weird in some way, you know? Like if you're up here and you sail west, you're just gonna travel the entire world around and just reach there again, right? You can I've seen talk of this, and I have discussed this with people as well before. There is another way of doing it, and that's doing the square method. And I think that's one of the best methods you can use. If you don't want to represent the square from a distance. And that's doing the 4 squares. What does that mean? It means doing this. Right. And then you can, you know, this it's like that. This here would exit there and it would enter like here. Right? Because this would be folded in behind there. And this would be folded in, so you would end up with a cube. That way you can represent the world in squares, and you can have a whole world that has a functional pole, like have functional poles, right? Like one pole is going to be here, this is the North Pole, one pole is here, this is the South Pole. And now, like if you sail in any direction away from here, you're gonna end up at the South Pole eventually, in a way that makes a lot more sense. But it is still, they are still squares, so it's not like perfect logic. For like traveling in this direction is gonna be further than traveling anywhere else. So this is definitely a way you can do it. And I think maybe I will do it this way until I figure out a reason why not to. Like traveling down here means you end up here. Traveling here means you end up here. There means you end up there. Down here means you end up there. That's how it's connected. And in reality, it's just a series of squares, right? And I feel like this is close enough that I can like live with it. And I feel like I actually think this solution could work entirely. Kind of. You see, the issue with just having a square is that when you zoom out from the planet and you want to represent this as a planet, and that is something I am concerned about. It's something I always want to do. Like if you do this, or rather if you have a square and you do this, you can kind of represent it as like, yeah, you're seeing like this section, you know, you're seeing Earth from here, or you know, from over here or whatever. And then if you travel around, you can scroll it around. But it's very easy that it ends up with weird scenarios, like this, for example, where if you circle around the world, you're like only seeing the North Pole repeat over and over and over again, which doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you do it with a solution like this, I don't think that can actually ever happen. As long as you fish lens it a little bit. Like if you want to render the planet here, for example, then it would be a little tricky, perhaps. But I think it would be more doable. Like you'd have to compress the corner. And then you'd have to tie these two together. And just kind of like show that from above. So you'd have to deform it, tie it together, compress the corners. And that might make things look weird too. But I think it's a lot more doable. Alright. Either way, what this means is that this geocoordinates it's not really necessary anymore, I think. I think I'm gonna dump that whole thing. Maybe. Because we still kind of have longitude and latitude, but I might have to make it my own. So what should this look like? Like, what should the logic here look like? Can this be over here? No, it can't. Because this wraps to here. So it's gonna have to be something like... It's just gonna be a public vector 3 position. But it will also need a public int planet side. So I think that should be an enum. Now, how should we number this? I'm gonna have to say it doesn't really matter what the numbers are, but I feel like I would like to have some kind of logic here. I think I'm gonna say back. This is back. Back. Then we're gonna say west. Should I call it west? Left. Because north and south makes sense, right? But west and east don't make sense, because those are not absolutes. North and south are absolutes. So yeah. Something like that. Planet side. Geolocation is not real. I mean, geolocation can still be real, but not in the way I was planning it. But that means it's just gonna be tile-based. Which simplifies everything, to be honest, so much. And I think this could be good. Geolocations should be larger areas, while actual smaller things should be smaller areas. But it's a little spooky because tile based stuff eats up space like that. But you can compress it. You can compress it to massive degrees.
What about the fourth dimension?
Like on the maps I made for Legends of Terrestria at first, because I used a tile-based system there. My maps were like 900 to like 2 gigabytes in size. And then I used flat buffers to compress the maps, and they went to like 37 kilobytes. Like an absolutely massive decrease. And that's because it can just say like, here there's a bunch of like air tiles in a row. And it, instead of having like literally like 4,000 air tiles in a row, it just says 4,000 air tiles in a row, and it just saves so much space. Same thing with just like ground or dirt or underground or whatever. Right. So what do we want to do now? We have a geolocation. And I feel like the geolocation should be like... It should be X amounts of tiles. So I feel like the world should be built out of geolocations. And or like the size should be geolocation based. So if we say that a geolocation consists of like 4 times 4 locations, then when you make a world, it should be like, how many geolocations should it be? And then you end up with that times 4 times 4 areas, right? More or less. And the reason for that is to abstract weather a little bit. I don't know if that's what I will end up doing, but just reducing the amount of weather calculations being done feels like a good idea. And it feels like weather does act a little bit more on a macro scale than on a micro scale, so I feel like that would be good. Um, I'm just thinking. Like how to structure this. Should I use a dictionary? Should I use... No. Alright, let's go all the way over here. ProcGen. Let's say class planet. A planet consists of planetary sides. Should it be an array? I don't think it needs to be an array. I could say like top. I could do this. And a planetary side. The question is, what would that contain? Like a 2D array of geolocations. And let's not worry about real data, like area data, because that that's something that should be streamed. So I don't want to say just, you know, public whatever. That should be streamed from data. And the way this should work is in main controller. We should have an array. An array that's just, you know, like chunk or whatever. And the data should be streamed into there. How the hell would I do this? Because this would need some kind of generation, but planetary side. Is this is something we can't really generate without having world generation already set up. So the way you can do this is to manually set it up. Just say like this is land, this is land, this is land, whatever. And that sucks ass. But what we can also do is just say I don't know if it's worth... Well... And then you have to do like 4 geolocations. Remember what we tested? This is something that should be default. How do you do that? It's gotta be in like project settings or something. Alright, C#, Visual Studio, add default using. You can amend the new class template. Okay, but I just... I just want to amend it for this project. I don't want to amend it for... C# Visual Studio per solution new class template. Okay, you can't do that. So stupid. Create a new custom template. Okay, we can make our own template. Maybe it should have a file ending, I don't know. Should it be .cs? What does the default template look like then? Let's see. Microsoft Visual Studio, Community, IDE, Item, Templates, C#, Code, Class, Class.vs template. And now, if I say add, it doesn't exist. It's in solution items. That means it doesn't exist. So we have to move it over to World Gen. Class MonoGame. Select the references. The ones that I chose, maybe. Restart VS apparently. This is good stream content. Now we have a class MonoGame there. If we add that, now it looks like it's named this, which sucks. That's not what it's supposed to do. Wait, am I stupid? Add class. And then I just have to change it. Yeah, okay, it does work. There's an ugly line break there though, but alright. I think that's good. I don't want to have to add that back every single time. Bro. Right. MonoGame doesn't have a vector to int implementation at all, I think. Let's see. I wrote the vector to here. Which I guess we can steal. So we have a vector to int here. It doesn't come with all of the shenanigans that the vector 2 comes with. You know, it's got type converter, data contract, debugger, like I don't know what any of these things mean. The mine is a lot more basic at the moment, which is fine. Vector to int. There. Then we use select index.y. And here we do x. I don't know. Like it's so weird. I don't understand what you're supposed to do here. Cuz like if you go here, it highlights all of them. But I don't know how you're supposed to make it update all of them. Like, I know you can do rename, but sometimes it just does it, you know? Like, sometimes if I just do the thing here, it just does it. But I guess maybe here it's broken because the one down there is also called Y and it's an error. Like here? No? Not tab. Not X1. Not that either. Like, I don't know. Sometimes it just does it. I don't know. Not today. And now my mouse pointer is like bugged out. Anyway. We need to generate new geolocations. So it's gonna be geolocations. Type 4 then yeah, it works when you do that. But sometimes when I come back and change it, it's like I just go in and I'm just like 1 and then boom, it works. But yeah, I know that one. Yeah, it worked there. My evening's alright. I did a short stream earlier too, but I turned it off because I got stuck. I was trying to decide on how to represent my data and stuff like that. And I had to think about it and Google a bit. Because I really wanted to try to figure out a way to represent the world as a sphere. But I've given up on that. It doesn't work. Basically, I wanted to try to represent the world as a series of data points along like custom points, you know? So it's not like 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, but rather it's just custom points around the world based on the latitude and longitude and the size of the planet. So each point would have a certain size. So the size of the planet would determine how many points you would have around a certain circumference of the planet. And I wanted to, because I think that will work. Like, I think that works. And then I wanted to like stitch them together a bit, because there's going to be some data overlap here and there, because it's not always going to be like properly aligned with each other. Or I was thinking of having like each area having a custom size, you know, like the top of it being a different size than the bottom, because it stretches from like a certain point of the planet down to another one. And then I wanted to just represent objects and stuff like buildings and whatnot, just using coordinates, just like objects or something, just like you would in a 3D world, instead of it being tied to like tiles or something. But the issue that like it works to that point, but there are issues that crop up, like saving data for how water works, or like how the terrain is deformed, or stuff like that. And then further down the line we come into even bigger issues with rendering, because I'd have to be able to generate and like stream the world as you're moving around. So you'd have to be able to load chunks or something like that. And there are just way too many issues, especially since I do want to do Raymarch based rendering. which is something I like a lot. Both of my games, or like pretty much all of my projects, do that. And that becomes a nightmare. Because to do that, you need to have like a square structure or a 2D array or 3D array based structure where everything is aligned properly all the time to be able to properly do the ray marching. You can't like ray march through jagged arrays and stuff like that. It's too weird. I guess you'd have to get the normals for everything you're doing. Not sure. Because, yeah. Probably not. Because normals, I honestly don't even know what we're talking about. What's normals? I know what normal mapping is. Yeah, I wouldn't have to bother with anything like that. That's the beauty of ray marching. Like normals don't exist. That's why I don't know shit about it. Because ray marched rendering is just completely data based, pretty much. You don't need to do any culling or anything like that because it does it automatically by the very nature of how you're rendering. This is my ray. This is my ray marching 3D, or my 3D ray marcher, which is not functional, but it works enough to show it when it loads. And then I have to travel a little bit here. Actually, let me... How about now? Oh, that's a bit faster. There, right. So now you have a big world here. And this is all ray marched. But it's glitched. Like you see when you look down, it's all black. That's because I don't have proper code for rendering tiles from above. So you can render them from the side. You can see there we got like slopes and stuff like that. Red is just me coloring them a different way to show the side, like which side I'm looking at. And here it just, you know, you don't need to do any normal stuff. It just finds a tile, renders a pixel from it. That's it. It's over. The outside of the world. And you can see we're rendering quite far. It's rendering black over there, but that's only because I've set the tiles to not color, or I've set them to become darker the further away they are, because otherwise it looks super weird. But you can see I can render all the way over there. They are black, but they are still rendering, and it's still running at 240 FPS. And this is like, I don't know how big this is. Is it this? No, it's here. Brick grid size. U distance 12. World size in voxels 768. That doesn't sound right. Is that only 768? Yeah, okay, it is. Alright. Well, we can see 768 voxels away at least. And that's why... And that's without any... What is it called? Without any LOD, like where I'm not doing any level of detail stuff to optimize that. And the entire purpose of that whole thing is being able to draw far distances. And that's like the basis. That's the renderer that I really want to use for my projects. And here I'm trying to program like the other side of it a bit, which is the data to plug into the renderer. So now we're just gonna say xy equals new geolocation and the geolocation You can't... Oh, wait! Holy shit, can I? Ah! I don't think you can do this in Unity. Let's open the other project. Yeah, I don't think you can do that in Unity. Unity uses a C# version that's just like 15 years old, so you can't do that. There's something you can't do. Let's just, here for example, public float test. Test equals... No, you can do that. There's something you can't do that always ticks me off that I can't do it. Alright. Parameterless struct constructor is not available in C# 9.0. Oh, Rapier. Not sure. Mostly doing some random... Which is insane to me, by the way. I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to create a parameterless constructor. To me, that's just like, what? But yeah, no, I'm just trying to generate a world and figure out some way to do that. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, so this is just like snail pace, but now I don't actually need to do this at all. It doesn't need to be in the constructor. Because it's gonna be 0 anyway, first and foremost, because floats, they're just all zeroed. So I don't actually need to do that. So I don't really need a constructor here. But I could. And we could have another constructor. That actually takes all of these. Whoa. I don't know if that saved any time. Yeah, really just... I mean, I pretty much know what I want to do. It's just... I don't really know how I want to do it. I think I'm gonna add elevation to the location. But how should that work? Like, what would 0 elevation be? Alright, good luck with work, Rapier. Because I can't do elevation 0 being like water level or something. So elevation 0 would have to be like the absolute bottom of the Marinara Trench. You know? Or something like that. They found my girlfriend? How is he doing? These are the worst things in programming. I hate this so much. It's like, ugh, like there's no problem. It's just like annoying. Like what should this number represent? Like what? Like, I don't know. But it can't be height above sea level, because the elevation would determine where the sea level is. Right? Like, the amount of water spread across the world compared to the average elevation of the world would determine where the sea level ends up being. So elevation can't be height above sea level from a world gen point of view. It could be if I just set like a sea level, right? But if I'm gonna generate a world including the sea level, I can't do that. How have I been? I'm okay. I know the hospital went fine. It's still, I still feel it a little bit, but it's not that bad. It's just like a little bit. Enough that I don't feel like doing push-ups, I guess. But otherwise it feels fine. And see, yeah, that's why elevation is a problem. Another? No, it's the same one. But I did have surgery. It's been like 7 weeks, I think. And they say that 6 weeks should be fully healed. So I should be mostly fully healed. But, you know, that's the thing with surgery too. Like I might feel it like forever. Like you just don't know. There might just be, you know, something pushing against something, and there might be some nerve or whatever. So I might like feel it a little bit. Who knows? Might just be some scarring or something that feels weird. But it's not bad, it's just like, I just notice it a little bit.
were times when love was broken, when we didn't feel the same. Every gentle word unspoken.
I feel like I'm going to put elevation at 0.
Want you to take me back,
What is my logic behind that?
take me back. Want you to take me back,
Hello, Zeus. How's it going?
take me back.
But yeah, so the reason I'm gonna put elevation at 0, the other values here aren't necessarily like they should be that, but I do think that they should probably start at 0 for world generation, right? Because I would add water at a later state. So sea level can't be 0. So the idea here is that elevation goes at 0 because when I begin generating a planet, it's just gonna be a rock, right? It's a rock and it has tectonic plates. Because this is something I want to do. It's something I've tried doing before. I want to do tectonic plate world generation. Alright, good night. Good night, dude. See you around. And what that means is that we're gonna start elevation at 0, and tectonic plates colliding will push either up or down. And down will mean negative, and up will be positive. So elevation doesn't really mean more than a baseline for world generation. And then when elevation goes down, that just means that, you know, it's been altered downwards, because a tectonic plate is pushing down against another one. And that's like step 1. Generating mountains and depths using tectonic plates pushing against each other. And then you stabilize the world. And then you add water, which is going to be an X amount of water. So water level isn't necessarily gonna be like plus or minus or whatever. There's gonna be a certain amount of water. And I'm gonna have to do some calculations figuring out like how to place that water, right? And then that will determine the water level, but the water level won't necessarily be a value. It's just gonna be like, there's water here now, because I've generated water into all these crevices that we've generated. Now the tectonic plates is one of the bigger issues. So I don't actually know how to do that in a good way. You basically have to somehow split the planet into tectonic plates, and what that means is that each tectonic plate needs to consist of like a series of points that form like one big polygon. And then you have to give it some kind of like velocity. And then you need to check that velocity against the other plates. And you need to check like every single point against the other points. And I think it's gonna be a mess. But I know it can be done. I've seen other people do it. World generation is pretty popular, so even more hard, like complicated things like tectonic plates is already been done several times. So here, what I think we'll do for now is maybe generate random water percentages. And not do anything with elevation.
I'm falling. Come save me, baby. I'm calling.
We do need to take things one step at a time.
Come be with
Come
me.
on, man.
Come as you are.
Come on, man.
Come catch your fire, babe.
Yeah.
Don't let me fade away. Don't let me fade away.
And so here we are generating geolocations. And then we'll say geolocation, no, geoloc X, no, no, X, Y, dot, water percentage equals rand equals new random returns a random floating point number that is greater than or equal to 0, less than 1. Less than 1? So you can never get a 1? It's kind of weird.
I'm calling. Come be with me, babe. Come as you are. Come catch your fire, babe. Don't let me fade away. Don't let me fade away.
Well, it doesn't really matter right now. But now we at least have sea level, or we have water percentage, because I want to use the water percentage to determine heat. There's not going to be a lot of progress, because there's a lot of stuff I need to put together. Because I need a sun. I need a heat source, which is the sun. And then the sun is going to spin around the planet. For now. I mean, in reality, it would be the other way around, but the sun is going to spin around the planet, and then it'll heat up the sides, and the other sides will cool down. And then I want to create air convection using that. And then the areas with more water will cool more. Because the water is cold and it will radiate cold, so it won't heat up as much. And then that is going to be what generates airflow. And then I want to create a simulation of that is visible, so I can see like the arrows pointing in certain directions. This is a planet side, right? And then here it's going to be doing that. Something like that. Right. I changed location. To a geo coordinate, but it should be location. Yeah, nah. That's gonna be another short stream. I don't feel like pushing it. I'm just gonna do this whenever I feel like it. But we have some planets. Oh, we have one planet. We have. I just need to figure out how to get this all together to the point where I can create a planet and launch the game, and it like mattering in any way whatsoever. Like having a measurable world, yes, would be a good first step. Yeah, something. I might have to create like some UI. Something I really didn't want to have to do this early, but having some buttons for like debugging purposes, being able to like switch between certain views, being able to look at the planet, move around, like click things to see what something is. Those kind of things. But first, we'll just, I don't know. I feel like I'm building an entire system from like 7 different directions at the same time, and it's a little hard. So either way, we'll continue next time, whenever that is. I don't know. Until then, thanks, Ryan. See you later. Bye bye.